I started doing a lot of self-harm. I started cutting myself just for the release of pain. Like it wasn't deep cuts. It was just more of just to maybe hopefully feel better. That would help. I would start going through my parents' medicine cabinet and taking their pills because I didn't want them to see my scars. And then there were times where I was driving and I would just like let go of the wheel and just I'm done. Like I can't deal with it anymore.
Hey guys, welcome back to Normalize The Conversation. Today I'm here with Michelle McManus, the founder of Baby Be Brave, this incredible community focused on helping adoptees and families who have adopted to create a safe community. So can you please tell me a little bit more about Baby Be Brave and the amazing IGTV series you created, Brave Souls?
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Thank you.
So Baby Be Brave was, I found out about last July. I was at a really low point of my life. I suffer with depression and anxiety. And I just kind of felt very hopeless last year. That I was laying there and I just realized, I said, I know I'm not the only one out there that feels this, this down and just feels alone. So I created Baby Be Brave to basically just provide inspiration to others and to let everyone know like that I'm here for them, that they're not alone. They don't have to struggle alone. And it was, I loved it. And I just, I never imagined that it would turn into my purpose actually, which I struggled also with, what am I here for? So I met a lot of people through the adoption community and hearing all these stories, because I'm adopted, it just made me feel less alone and that other people out there were feeling the same way I do, other adoptees, and been through the same kind of trauma along with that. And then just, you meet one person, you meet like 20 more. And, for November was National Adoption Awareness Month. So I decided to do lives for the month and just bring awareness to adoption and just let people know that adoption isn't always beautiful. There's a lot of trauma behind it. And, I had so many people come on and I loved it that at the end of the month, I was like, why should I stop? So I should always bring awareness. So I just kept going. I was going to make Brave Souls, which is my IGTV live series, a podcast. I was, trying to set that all up. And then I realized, I love the lives just face to face because it's more personal. And I love it because other people within the adoption community join in and they also comment and they feel included in part of the conversation. And that's what I love too. So I decided to take the podcast off the table and stick with the live series.
I absolutely
I haven't breathed that whole
I absolutely love that so much. I think when it comes to adoption specifically, there's not really a lot of education on it. And you grow up in schools and every once in a while you might meet a kid who was adopted, but a lot of times they're picked on, made fun of. There's a lot of stigma around it. And you don't know how to provide support to people who are adopted. You don't realize that a lot of times they feel alone. So many of us feel alone for so many reasons, but imagine being kind of ostracized by your peers and told, well, your real parents didn't want you. And for you to create this community to let them know they're not alone. You are not alone is so, so powerful and so, so important.
Thank you.
Of course, you are absolutely incredible. So can you tell me a little bit about your adoption story?
Sure. So I was adopted in Romania in Eastern Europe. I was born in 1988. My birth mother, unfortunately was raped and she got pregnant with me. And she just, I guess, there's a lot of reasons why she probably didn't, want to keep me due to a lot, Romania was a very poor country. She and her mother, my grandmother, had a very bad relationship after she got pregnant and they stopped talking. She got kicked out of the house and had to live with different people. And I guess just she didn't want me to be that constant reminder of what happened to her. So I was put into an orphanage when I was a baby. I'm not sure exactly how old I was. Maybe, I don't know if it was right after I was born. I'm still trying to find that out. I'm going to search right now. Or if it was a few months. I'm not sure. But I was in New York for about 2 years. And then I was adopted from an amazing American family. And, I always kind of felt a little off. Like, I didn't know why. Like, I felt different until I was about 8 years old is when my father told me that I was adopted. And honestly, I say this a lot, but those 3 words, "you are adopted," changes your life forever, changed mine. And it kind of started to make sense as to, like, of course I was still young, so I didn't piece it all together, but it still sort of made sense as to why I felt so different. But that was really kind of very tough for me. I didn't really know how to handle, like, everything. My first reaction was, "You mean my mom's not my real mom?" I didn't say anything about him. I didn't say anything about anybody else. And then everything he said kind of went in one ear and out the other. But because I was just fixated on that one thing, that she was not my mom, and wondering why my mom didn't want me. So that was a lot to process as a kid. I was confused. And then the kids started finding out at school, and they started bullying me. And then one girl said, "The only reason your mother left you is because she didn't love you." And I already had that in my head, but her confirming it, made it even more real to me. And I took that really hard. And I had that constant, like, why didn't she want me? Like, was there something wrong with me? How could a mother leave their child? And just so many different thoughts I had. I felt very isolated at school. I started to become I actually made myself more alone than I should have, because I felt so different that I wasn't accepted and I wasn't enough. So I isolated myself. And then high school years was probably my hardest. The older you get, of course, the longer you have to deal with the trauma of your birth mother didn't want you and everything else. And I didn't have pictures of either of my birth parents growing up. So I would constantly stare at a mirror when I was younger and just wonder, like, who do I look like? I would try to imagine, like, create images of them based on my features. And, like, maybe I have her hair, his eyes, like something like that. So I decided to, before I went searching, I started doing a lot of self-harm. I started cutting myself just for the release of pain. Like, it wasn't deep cuts. It was just more of just to maybe hopefully feel better. That would help. I would start going through my parents' medicine cabinet and taking their pills because I didn't want them to see my scars. And then there were times where I was driving and I would just, like, let go of the wheel and just I'm done. Like, I can't deal with it anymore. But I finally said enough was enough. I'm ready to go get some answers. I'm tired of feeling this way. And I went searching. So legally you have to be 18 to search for your birth family, especially international adoptions as well. But I kind of started like a smaller search, I would say around maybe 16. And I contacted the lawyer who brought me over on the plane, who handled my case. And he told me, come over. I have all your files. I have a picture of your birth mother. I have everything you need. So I brought my friend over and we went looking through all the boxes and there was nothing. My box wasn't there. So I left, like, devastated because I thought I was going to finally see what she looked like. I was finally going to get some answers. But I didn't give up. I kept going. I'm a very persistent person. So I don't like to give up on things. So, when I was 18, legally, I hired a private investigator in the United States. He searched for 5 years and couldn't find my birth family at all until I finally connected with a private investigator in Romania who found my family in 3 weeks. And it's funny because I used to always sit by the phone and just wait to hear for the answer. And you finally get to a point where you're like, how long can you wait? And I was almost at the point where I was about to just, like, put my phone away and be like, because I literally, like, I'm not even joking, I had the phone with me all the time in my hand when I was sleeping, just hope maybe I'll get a call or an email in the middle of the night, something, until I finally put my phone away. And I ended up getting a call from the private investigator saying, we found your family. And I kind of, in that moment, it was like kind of like a movie, I guess, but I was dead silent. Like I froze, and he was like, "Are you still there?" And I was like, "Oh, yes, yes, I'm here. I'm here." I'm just in complete shock. So I was so, so, so happy. Let me know if I'm like talking too much or like
You
too
are
fast.
good.
Okay. So oh gosh, I lost my train of thought. Okay. So I started thinking like only the good possibilities, like the good outcomes when I went searching for her. I started getting books on Romania, teaching myself Romanian, so that way when I met her, I can talk to her and she'd be proud of me and we could have that bond. And I started learning different foods of Romanian foods and all that, and just got really connected with Romania. I never had the idea that it wasn't going to go well, and I should have, because when I went searching for her, she basically didn't want anything to do with me. And that was hard because it was like a second hand rejection. It was a second rejection all over again. But this time I actually physically went through that and had to feel that pain. I thought, like I said, it was going to be like that open arm. She was going to, welcome me so happily, but she didn't. And at that time, I also found out about the rape, and then I'm the product of that. I didn't know that growing up. So it kind of made sense, like, okay, that's probably why she doesn't want me to do anything to do with me, because I'm that reminder to her. So that was really hard, that she didn't want to talk to me, that I found out that my birth father did that. But I also, so I kind of gave up a little bit on it. I buried all the books I bought. I didn't throw them out, but I buried it all in like the bottom of my ottoman and just didn't want anything to do with it. So I ended up getting a letter from my grandfather, her father, wanting to talk to me. And I was just like, I looked at the letter, I was like, I went in tears because I was like, oh my gosh, somebody wants me from that family. And him and he was my pen pal. And we wrote for about a year. And with Romania, like a year might seem like a lot of letters, but it's not, because overseas it could take 3 to 4 weeks to even get there. And he had to walk to a different town to go get the letter. Then he had to get it translated for both ends. So it takes a lot longer. So it was probably about maybe 3 letters we got each a year, but it was still really amazing. But I'll stop for a second so you can talk.
That is absolutely amazing. I love how your grandfather reached out and you had that connection. But back to what you were saying about when you first found out you were adopted, mental health wise, you can tell that it really, really affected you.
Yes.
What was that like? You said you felt alone, you felt really depressed with the self-harm and the pills. Can you tell me more about what that was like and how you've been able to overcome that?
Yeah. So I guess when you're young, you don't really know what depression is. You just kind of feel sad and just know that you're not okay. And it just like like I said, the older I got, the harder it got. There were times where I was just like, I would not want to be around people, or I would just cry for no reason, or I mean, it was a reason for it, but I would just, I don't know, or just start crying or thinking about it. And like I said, like you finally get to a point where you're so tired of dealing with that pain. Like, and it's so sad. Like there's some people that it breaks my heart that they give up on themselves. And I almost did. And, with adoptees who are people who are adopted are 4 times more likely to attempt suicide. And a lot of those times is because because the trauma is just so tough for them to deal with. And sometimes they don't feel seen, or they don't feel heard, that their story doesn't matter, or their adoptive family doesn't provide them the space to ask questions or talk about it or keep it a secret from them, or don't allow them to feel the way they want, because either the family's not emotional people to deal with it, or they just don't. Oh gosh, I forgot what I was going to say. They don't. Man, that just went right out of my head.
It happened.
Yeah. Oh, or they take it personally. So when I wanted to go search for my birth mother, I asked my mom, my adopted mom, before I did that. I said, I want to search for my birth mother. I said, but if this is something that's going to make you sad or hurt you, I won't do it. Because I didn't want her to feel like I was leaving her, like she wasn't good enough for me. But thankfully she said yes, and she supported me through that. But I also wasn't given that space to talk about it. And it wasn't intentional. It was just, a lot of adoptive families think that, okay, we bring a child home, that's our child, that's it. Then we tell them they're adopted, and then our job is done. They don't realize hearing those words, it's very hard for a child. And I personally wish, and I suggest all adoptive parents do this for their adopted children, is as soon as you tell them that they're adopted, whether it's from day one, from the beginning, some parents do, or at a certain age, put them in therapy immediately. Because, there are some adoptees I met that are okay with it, that it hasn't really personally affected them as much as others have. But put them in therapy, with an adoption therapist that specializes in that field with trauma and everything. And that's something I wish I would have had, because I had to deal with all that myself. And that's what caused a lot of my depression and all. And I used to think, why am I depressed? I used to just think it was depression, but I didn't ever link it to, it was adoption depression, because of that. And, so me, honestly, I haven't overcome it yet, but I'm in the process of healing. And, they call it the adoptee fog, which is right before you go into your healing process, your healing journey. And I guess for me, the adoptee fog was just constantly thinking, I didn't have any acceptance. I didn't have any self-love. I was in complete denial, and I buried my feelings and I suffered in silence a lot. So I would put that, that commercial with the smiley face that you hold up, that was me. I could break down in the car or be emotionally so sad, but as soon as I enter a room with my family or friends, I would put the happy face up and just be such a good actress at it that none of my family really knew what was going on. But yeah, right now I'm in that healing journey, and it's still emotional, and I still have my days that I'm not okay, but I have a lot more mental clarity now.
You are absolutely incredible. And to take something that was so traumatic for you, that really devastated you, hurt you, put you into a depression that could have taken your life, you use that to help others know that they're not alone. That is the most incredible thing another human can do. You are just absolutely amazing.
Thank you. So there was actually one little part I do want to bring in, which also kind of relates to my adoption, and part of my, what I struggle with is, so at 21, I found out I was 21. So I was coming home from college, and I took a later train because I had to stay for a project, to work on an assignment. And I ended up getting sexually assaulted on the subway. I just it happened so fast, because of course train rides aren't really fast subway rides, but it just happened really fast, but it felt like forever. He ended up pinning me down and just touching me. Fortunately I wasn't raped, but I was very close to it. And I kind of almost I didn't really scream. I didn't fight hard enough. He also had his hand on my chest, pinned it down across the seat. So I really couldn't move physically. But I was able to get the strength to get him off and throw him onto the floor. And then I bolted out of there. And I would have all these nightmares that just happening over and over again. I was reliving it. So the nightmares finally started going away. And then when I went searching for my birth mom, and I found out what happened to her, and I ended up getting a picture of my birth father, the nightmares started coming back. And I would relive the whole thing, except this time it wasn't the guy on the subway, it was my birth father doing it to me.
Wow.
So it was, so like I said, it was a lot of lot of pain. I had to deal with through it, and the problem is still never got help. I still never got therapy for it. Again, I just kind of suffered in silence, and I didn't tell anyone. I didn't report it. I buried it inside for 12 years, and I actually decided to finally share it with a friend of mine, Candle in the Dark Room, Desi Garcia. She helped me share my story, and there were other girls along in our Badass Do-Gooder community that also inspired me to speak out. And it was one of Desi's podcasts that made me want to share, and it was really tough. But this year, I ended up really sharing everything about my adoption. Everything, like even the vulnerable parts. I shared my assault. I talked about it. So I was dealing with 2 traumas in 1 year, and it was a lot, but I'm glad I did it because I'm finally able to feel more peace inside, and I'm not holding it in as much. But yeah, some days were tough that I have to work through it. But like I said, it's definitely the best thing I did for myself is to share my story, to talk about my trauma, and and that's what I'm trying to do, is to turn my pain into purpose and help other adoptees, other survivors to speak out. Don't suffer alone. Don't hide anything. Like, your story matters. And I always say there's one person out there who needs to hear your story. And sometimes I feel like I talk so much and I share my story so much that it's like, okay, it's just my story. But then I get a message from someone that said they listened to my story and it made them want to share theirs. And it brings me like such tears and joy because I don't realize how much, like I said, your story has an impact on somebody else. Yeah, and yeah, and I just I'm overjoyed by just like how much progress I've been making and how much I've been really helping others through the process, as well as helping myself. So yeah, so I'm still on my healing journey, and honestly, I think I'm going to be my healing journey forever, and that's okay.
It is okay. And I think a lot of people think that their healing journey is going to be real quick, that they're just going to one day let go and everything's going to be fine. And it really is a journey, and it can be a lifetime. And the strength that you've shown so far is absolutely incredible. And I love that, turning your pain into purpose. That's just absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
Of course. Do you have any advice that you could give to adoptees who they just found out they're adopted, they're starting to struggle with their mental health? What advice can you give to them?
I think my number one advice is support. Go get help and go talk to someone, because up until last year, I didn't even know a community existed for adoptees. And that changed my life too, by hearing all of their stories and knowing that you can resonate with each other and, share your vulnerability to them, and they just understand. Like, you tell someone else who outside of that community what you go through, and they can sympathize with you, but they won't completely understand. But you tell someone who's been through the same kind of trauma, they just, without even going into detail, they just know. And so I say, go get support. There's nothing wrong with asking for help. It's not a weakness. It actually takes a lot of strength to ask for help. And that's what I used to think I was weak for, asking for help or wanting people to help me, because like that means like, why I can't handle this myself. So, but you don't handle it yourself, because obviously I did not handle it very well. I did at all. But ask for help, talk to people, and just, learn that you are so loved. You like, just by you existing, you matter. And everyone is here for a purpose. And, there are times where we don't know what that is, or we haven't discovered it yet. I mean, at 32, I just discovered my purpose in life. And, it's like, I'm glad that happened that way in a way. Like, I know it sounds crazy, but I'm glad not glad, but everything that's happened to me, it had a reason behind it. And I'm not saying if I can go back in time, I don't know if I would change anything. You would think I want to, but if I didn't go through what I've been through, I don't know who I would be right now as a person and how strong I would be. Or, I could be just doing a different job where I was just unhappy the rest of my life, or I would be with an ex-fiance who I would just be miserable with just because I settled and I didn't have love for myself and I didn't think I was good enough and I didn't deserve happiness. But everyone deserves happiness. Everyone deserves to be loved, to feel loved. And everyone knows that you are enough. Like, be kind to yourself. Like, people, I just recently put a post, like, the advice you give others, you have to practice what you preach. And the advice you would give to a friend or someone else that you care about, take that advice for yourself. And I know it's hard because we are our own worst critic and we are hard on ourselves because we put ourselves to a higher standard to be perfect. But no one's perfect. And we all struggle. We all have our struggles. But, write little love notes to yourself. Get sticky notes. Post-its. Put it on your mirror. Put it on your bathroom mirror. Just something kind to yourself that you wake up every morning and you can read those notes and you can start to believe it and know how much you are loved and you're enough. And all, journal. I used to be horrible at journal. I never journaled because I used to be like, what do I need to write this stuff down for? But now I write letters. I actually write letters to my birth family. Let them know how I really feel. Even if it's not going to be received by them, I still write the letters. Write letters to everyone who hurt you and put it in a box because it's a way of releasing it. Take time for yourself. Go do stuff that that's good for your soul. Like go to the beach. Go take time to yourself. It's not selfish. Have boundaries. Don't always be a people pleaser. And I'm giving all this advice because this is something I used to be. And I'm learning to set boundaries for people. I'm learning to not please. I can't please everyone, but I have to please me in the end. I have to be kind to myself and I have to love me. Because, it sounds cliche, but if you can't truly love yourself, how could you really give that love to someone else?
Exactly.
So that would be my advice. Just don't suffer alone. There's so many people out there. Reach out for help.
That is absolutely incredible advice. And if you could give advice to an adoptee's family on how to have that conversation, what advice would you give?
I would make sure that family, I was told in a car ride, we parked the car and I was just told there and that was it. I would say, sit down in a very a safe space, like in their room or in the house where they feel most safe. Have both parents there. My adopted mother wasn't there in the car and that really made me sad that she wasn't there. And I never told her that. But have both parents there. If they're both around, of course, have both of them there. Give them a safe space. Let them know ahead of time, even though you were adopted, you are so loved. Remind them how much you are needed in this world. And that doesn't change. That shouldn't change who you are as a person because of this. And remind them, that yes, you don't ever say you aren't wanted. You use your words wisely, be gentle with your child. Let them know, that, they just unfortunately, couldn't keep you, or there was circumstances that you weren't able to be with them, but we are so happy you were with us and we love you. Give them affirmation. And then provide them with space to ask questions. And don't take it personally because it's not about you. It's about the child because it's going to change the rest of their life, and how they hear it and how that conversation goes will actually have a huge impact on how they deal with it. If they want to ask a question or if they want to go searching, give them support. Don't think that because they want to go searching that they're going to leave you. No, we need answers. It's, we need to learn our identity and where we're from and who we are. And, try to get my thing for especially international adoptions, because it's harder, try to get as much information as you can from the very beginning. Find out what hospital they're from. Find out names of their family members. Find out, if there's any medical history, orphanage's name, just whatever information you can. So when they have these questions, you can provide them some guidance to go searching.
That is absolutely amazing advice. And what you are doing is going to save so many lives and help so many people know that they're not alone. And just thank you for all that you're doing.
Oh, well, thank you. And thank you for what you're doing. And thank you for having me.